Hey guys, how's it going? I got some really bad news. You might be able to hear it, but my voice is done. It hurts for me to talk right now, and I can't raise my voice at all. Now, normally this wouldn't be much of a problem, but I have decided to make a living making YouTube videos where I talk into a mic. So this has kind of given me a bit of problems. Basically, I can't record any videos for you guys right now. Not until my voice gets better. So for the next couple of days or the next week or however long my voice is like this, I'm going to try and get you guys as many videos as I can without actually having to talk that much. So this is an old debate that I had months and months and months ago with a bunch of dudes in a stream. Basically what was happening is we were building a tier list of the best action games, and on the list was all Fromsoft games, like every single one of them. And we were discussing it, and we had a couple of different people in the stream saying that they were good action games, and a couple people saying that they were bad action games. And this debate sort of spiraled. Now, I will be clear, I didn't cut out any arguments that either side made. Like, all of their arguments are in there. It's just kind of like if there's pauses or where people are like kind of trying to get their thoughts together or saying a lot, all that stuff has been removed, but it's just like a streamlined version of the argument. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And I'm sorry about not being able to make survival challenges today for the next couple days, possibly a week. Again, I don't know how long it's going to be. And if while listening to this debate you think that it sounds like really fun and you would like to join the debates or the tier list streams or anything like that, you can come to the channel every Saturday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it's completely open. You can come on in and debate anybody or join the tier list and help build the tier list. Literally anyone can jump in. So if you don't have anything to do on Saturday night and you kind of want to, fill up your time with something fun, come on by.
Next up we have, I just put all the FromSoft games in the same category.
You did put Sekiro on your list.
Yeah, Sekiro.
No,
Sekiro
that was an accident. I meant to, because I already had, because
well, technically Sekiro is slightly different.
Now, I do
make
make
slightly different.
an argument in one of my most recent videos. Sekiro being in its own actually makes sense because it's different enough. Yeah, like the Souls games, as you put it, with the Elden Ring and Dark Souls and Bloodborne, all are decently. They're a lot slower. Their combat's not as fluid. As you said, you don't like the combat in those games, but Sekiro is way different. And while it has stamina, voice breaking is way different than it is in the other games. So
okay.
I would say.
So do people here? Does everyone in the voice chat believe that Sekiro should be a separate thing outside of the rest of the FromSoftware games?
It has similar elements to almost every single FromSoftware game. It's different enough to the point where it's all similar to how Sun Wukong's playstyle is also faster than your standard Souls-like.
Okay,
I feel
whoa. Sun Wukong is not a Souls-like.
It is in some aspects.
Yeah.
No, that's my point that I'm trying to make. Sekiro is different enough that it's not really a Souls-like.
It depends on the person you ask. Some people will consider it a Souls-like, some people won't, but it's primarily under the description of just an action RPG.
Yeah, it's not like so Sun Wukong is way more comparable to something like Stellar Blade than it is to any of the other Souls.
I put Sun Wukong, Stellar Blade, and Sekiro into what I'm calling Sekiro likes, just because their combat is very similar.
Have you played Stellar Blade? Stellar Blade and Sekiro.
I have played Stellar Blade.
They are not the same game. They are very different.
I played Stellar Blade. I did a review on Black Myth Wukong, and I've played all the way. I still keep getting my ass kicked because I'm really bad at perfect parries, but I keep getting my ass kicked against the final boss in Sekiro.
That's not like
How could you say that Stellar Blade is like Sekiro?
Because the perfect parry is one of the best things you can do in the game. It
Wait,
has a stamina bar that you have to pay attention to, and a poise break system.
No, it doesn't. Stellar Blade does not have a stamina bar.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
When you run, it's got the bar right there at the bottom.
Stellar Blade doesn't have a stamina bar for running. You have infinite running in Stellar Blade.
Are you thinking of the shield bar on the enemies and bosses and stuff?
Well, that was the poise break I was talking about. I might be wrong on the.
No, there isn't a poise break either. Look.
You stagger them if you get rid of their yellow.
Yeah, but it's not a poise. It's not. Well, no. They have a shield, and when you hit them, you do a little bit of damage to their shield, a little bit of damage to their health. When you remove their shield, you do more damage to them, and that's when you really unload on the burst attacks and the overcharge abilities. I'm forgetting.
Well, the first time you knock the shield completely down, it does stagger them like a poise break.
No, it's not just breaking the shield. There's more that you have to do in order to actually stagger them. It's not just breaking the shield. All breaking the shield does is make it so that you can do more damage. There are other things you can do in order. I think I forgot what it is. It's not a perfect parry. There's something you can do once their shield is down to stagger them. But it's not the same as a poison. There's no stamina bar whatsoever. They're very different. There's no stealth. There's no like
well, I was going
more.
more. I was going more with the Black Myth Wukong comparison that he was making earlier, being closer.
Okay.
To stealth,
I'm just saying it's very strange to compare Stellar Blade in any way to a Souls-like. They're very different.
The perfect parry system.
Most games that you have any kind of bladed weapon has some kind of parry system. That doesn't make it a Souls-like. There's a bunch of games that have parry
or just melee weapons in general.
DMC has a parry system. God of War, the original God of Wars are a parry system. None of these are anything like
Monster
Souls.
Hunter has parries.
Monster Hunter has parries. Yeah. If you have a weapon, if you're holding a melee weapon of some type, you probably have a parry.
Monster Hunter has perfect blocks. It doesn't have parries.
Wilds has offsets, which are parries.
Yo, Breath of the Wild is a Souls-like.
Breath of the Wild.
Team Fortress 2 is a Souls-like because you can parry rockets with air blast.
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2 is a Souls-like.
I would say it is.
Lost Soul. Skyrim's parry is nothing like what I'm talking about when I say a parry.
Look, it's very. Look, I'm just saying it is very odd to compare Stellar Blade to Sekiro or the Soul. They are totally different games. There's almost nothing that's similar to it. You don't have the dying and dropping all your shit. The combat's completely different. There's no stealth whatsoever. The combat's faster. I mean, there's just so much.
That
more
is
to
fair
it.
with the Stellar Blade.
It is a straight up action.
I'm still standing on Black Myth is similar to Sekiro.
Well, I haven't played Black Myth, but I do know that
you drop your.
Oh yeah, my point is that I feel like Sekiro should be in its own thing, similar to Black Myth, because they're different enough.
I'll talk about it a little again. If you guys disagree, you can tell me. I think these games have absolutely terrible combat. These games have a non-existent story. Lore is not a replacement for story. I'm sorry. They don't have any good characters. Level design is peak. The soundtrack is good. There's no platforming, no real puzzle solving of any kind. It's literally
There's platforming, like a little bit.
It's light
climbing a ledge is
very
not
light platforming, but yes.
Climbing a ledge is not platforming. I'm sorry.
No. In even the original Dark Souls, you could you can skip entire areas just by doing a roll jump.
Yeah, I know. You can in Demon Souls, you can literally skip the whole level by rolling over this glitch part, but it's not platforming.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's light platforming to the point where it doesn't really count.
I don't count just jumping from one place to another, just the ability to jump as being platforming. There's no wall running, no climbing. There's no you have to jump over this thing and there's an obstacle and it could kill you if you like. It's just jumping from one ledge to another. This game really only has two things to it. It has exploration and it has combat. The combat's not that good, so it really relies heavily on the world that it puts you in. That's usually pretty interestingly designed. Again, level design and the exploration. I would put this game very, very low in terms of how good it is as an action game. Any of the Souls games, I generally do not see them as good action games.
The combat is very interesting because like it relies on how you time your attacks and how strategic you are with using your heals and how whether your build character is made to use speed attacks or heavy attacks, but the cost of the heavy attacks are slower.
This is character build. This isn't combat. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Name a single action game where you don't have to time your attacks. That's in all action games, is my point. That's not an action game. Every single action game that exists, especially we're talking about the 3D action games that we're currently talking about, requires you to time your attacks. Saying that it's very interesting because you have to time your attacks is...
How many of these games, these other action games, do their timing based off the music that the boss is playing behind it?
I think DMC does that a little bit, doesn't it?
The original 3 Dark Souls had I think a 2-4 timing, and Bloodborne had a 3-5 musical timing. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was off just by one.
Cool, but does that make the moment-to-moment combat better? Just because how?
It was more in depth, especially for people who can actually follow music sheets.
It's not more in depth. You're just changing what you're paying attention to. Normally in a game, when you're playing a game, you pay attention to tells that the boss gives. In this one, you're paying attention to the music instead of the tells. You're doing the same thing. You're just focusing on a different part of the game to do it. The actual combat itself is slow, meandering. I hate the fact that it's based on stamina. I think stamina is a dumb concept to even add to an action game because all it does is make you have to wait. It's an action game. Get in there and do the action.
It increases your need to pay attention to what you're doing a lot more than a lot of other things do, though, because it's like, oh yeah, okay, crap, I can't go attack. Well,
it doesn't make you pay attention. It doesn't make you pay attention more
to your stamina. So
it doesn't make you pay attention more. I don't have to pay attention to the combat more in Dark Souls than I do in Stellar Blade. I just have this other thing that I have to pay attention to that's taking my focus away from the actual fight that I'm supposed to be engaged in. And because of the stamina bar and all that, the fights have to be slower paced. All of the fights within Dark Souls are slower paced than a fight that would be in like Stellar Blade. Having slower paced fights isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not nearly as engaging, I would say, when you're in the combats. It's a lot of like standing back, walking away, kind of getting away, let me go heal, let me kind of go back in, let me wait for a tell. He's going to go through these different types of combat, different types of attacks, wait for a specific attack, okay, go in, hit him once, get back, can't get 2 or 3 hits in because then he'll wreck your shit. It's a lot of waiting, it's a lot of walking in a circle around the boss. It's not engaging combat. I do not think that it's anywhere near something like a Stellar Blade, like a Sun Wukong, like a DMC, where the actual combat is about the combat. Also, you can cheese all the boss fights by summoning people to come in and help you do the boss fights. It basically has its own built-in easy mode system by having, 2, 3 people.
Oh, and Magic is also often considered a built-in easy mode.
The whole thing about the game is difficulty, and it's actually possible to break the game and make it unbelievably easy for yourself with the summon and the magic system.
No, but the whole thing isn't about difficulty. Most of the games are actually, they're not that hard. People were just bad at video games when that stigma came around.
I don't disagree. I think
so I'm curious about something, which this might sound like a bit of a smart-ass question, but how would you determine depth for a game? What elements give it the points in that category, I guess?
Oh, well, I'm not necessarily talking about depth. I don't usually talk about depth. If you're talking about depth, it would just be like more mechanics, I suppose, would be depth. I don't really care about depth. I'm talking about engagement.
I would have agreed with you in Dark Souls like 1, because yeah, it is very, very basic, like butt poke, death.
I mean, that's still the case for Dark Souls 3. That's still the case.
So,
it changes a little bit for Bloodborne, I guess, because Bloodborne is a little faster paced, but it's still essentially the same thing.
The parry and rally system made a huge
they add a parry system.
The American Magic system.
They add the gun parry in Bloodborne. They also make it a little bit faster, and they make the weapons faster. So overall, it's just a faster paced game. At the end of the day, it's still a faster paced version of what is, let me keep dashing around this dude, trying to dodge his attacks and waiting to see an opening, hit him one time, get back, and do it over and over again until I kill him. The most important thing about the combat in any of these Souls-like games is not mastery of the mechanics. It is not really skill, it's patience. That's how the combat is structured, around you waiting for the right opportunity. That's literally the combat, is not fighting, knowing when not to fight. That's not engaging combat.
Personally, I think that's part of the reason why it's engaging. At least for me personally, I find the fact that I can't just wail on an enemy and a boss, and I have to actually plan my attacks and how I'm going to attack. And
you're using two extremes. You're using two extremes because you can't just wail on an enemy in Stellar Blade. You can't say that you having patience and waiting is what's engaging. That's literally the opposite of being engaged if you're waiting.
I wouldn't also say you could apply patience to a Dark Souls game, because if you were to take another game like Chivalry 2, which isn't even in this topic, but that's a game that requires patience and proper timing for every action you perform, but you have so many different ways to approach that. Your patience is far more rewarded. But when it comes into Dark Souls, you only have like very basic mechanics of move out of the way and hit, without having different methods of approach that really pulls back on how much that patience adds to it. Because there's not many ways of attack in Dark Souls, it's just move and then hit at the right time. The patience that would make it engaging doesn't apply as much, because there's not so many different methods of approach that require you to use that same level of patience.
But I don't think that you can say that patience is engaging, because it's literally waiting. That's the opposite of engaging against something.
I think it's like, because you have to be strategic about it, because you have to use like your brain to figure out when to attack. That's where like engaging. That's where they become engaging.
There are almost no games on this list that we are talking about where that's not the case. You have to have your brain engaged for something like Devil May Cry. You have to have it for Stellar Blade, for Sun Wukong, for Monster Hunter. All of these games have that. The only difference is what you're relying on having to be engaged with. What the Souls-like games are all about is not being engaged and actually backing off and waiting for the right opportunity. That's every single boss fight throughout the entirety of the Souls games. That is how they are structured. It is sitting back, waiting, learning all of their different attacks and what the tells for those attacks are, and then when you have that right opportunity, going in and hitting. When someone dies in Dark Souls, it's because they're impatient and they go in too soon. That is 100% of death, other than falls. That is like 100% of deaths in it is just not paying, and having an enemy type like be behind a wall for the first time that you didn't know and you walked and camped out. Like that's how you die. There's no mastery of the mechanics.
I would like to add something.
The only thing about it that I see that you really don't like is just the fact that the stamina bar exists and it messes with your ability to
because if you took if you took the stamina bar away, if you removed it entirely, it wouldn't change how the game is structurally designed, which is to stand back, avoid attacks, and wait for the opportune moment to walk in, hit them once, and back off, or twice and back off. With or without the stamina bar, that would be the case. The stamina bar does make it so that you could do that less often, and that's like an extra thing you have to worry about. But the only reason why the stamina bar is even there is to have you have to pay attention to something else, because the actual combat itself is so simple, you'd get bored without the stamina bar. There's nothing else to pay attention to. There's nothing else to actually factor in when you're fighting other than walking and hitting, backing up. It's like jiggling keys in front of you. It's like, here's something else to just keep you preoccupied.
I think personally it's the bosses specifically. When you learn from them, they start to get more stronger and become more cinematically fun to fight. The combat with the side monsters the combat becomes shitty. But when you find the bosses, it becomes more funner, but not by a large margin.
I'm not saying that the game doesn't have a fun factor. Like the game's fun. I've played a lot of them. I played Demon Souls. I played Dark Souls 1. I didn't play Dark Souls 2, which is why I don't know what y'all are talking about when y'all say that's the only one. I did play Dark Souls 3. I own Elden Ring currently. I didn't actually play Sekiro. I played Bloodborne. I probably played more Bloodborne than anyone. That was the one I liked the most. And probably that was the one I liked the most because it was the fastest pace and it had you keep busy longer than the other ones. But from the very beginning, regardless of how much I liked the games, the combat is not fun. I don't think it's fun due to combat. I like the exploration, I like the worlds, even like your basic enemy types, it's the same shit. The enemy types, they come at you, you like stand back, try to learn their combat patterns. Once you master the combat patterns, you wait for them to do a specific attack, run forward, hit them, and you do that to all of the different characters, like literally everyone. That is the entire, not just the entire game, that's the entire FromSoft library. That is how you engage with the combat.
Well, that's why I think Sekiro is so different compared to FromSoft, because it's begging you to get in front of them and just wave your.
Well, yeah. Everyone has already agreed that Sekiro should be separate. I mean, 82% of the votes say that it should be separate. So we are going to make that a separate thing. As far as anything other than Sekiro in the FromSoft library, I think it is extremely difficult to argue that this combat would be anywhere else but the bottom of the list. I think I see 1 or 2 games on this list that have worse combat than the FromSoft games.
I wanted to mention something before we completely move on.
What's up?
There is a large variety in builds that I don't think a lot of other action games have in the Souls.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but the problem is that the builds don't really matter because the combat is still the same regardless. Now, you might have like a magic ability and then you can shoot from afar or whatever. You might have like a faith build. Regardless of how you build your character, what I just said about the combat stays the same no matter what.
Yeah, that wasn't a defense of the combat, just something that I figured should be mentioned.
It is, but
it adds a massive replayability aspect to a lot of that game, but that's not on.
Somewhat, but even so, like as far as builds go, I would argue easily that Shadow of War has more builds and better builds than any of the FromSoft games do. Now, having said that, I think that it has better builds than pretty much any. I think that might be the only one that has better builds. Maybe I think Ghost of Tsushima might have better builds. Maybe because there's no. I don't know. Arguable. That one's arguable. But action games in general don't have builds. Action games are about the action. At the end of the day, this is trying to be an RPG, not an action game. The problem is that in this RPG, what you do most of the time is action. And I think that the action is not up to snuff on a lot of these other games. I just don't think you can even kind of compare it to something like Stellar Blade. Like, I just don't see any comparison between these two combat systems. I think it's very hard to argue that it's even close. Outside of that story, it's essentially non-existent. I know it's there, but it's essentially non-existent. Lore is not a replacement for story. The characters, there aren't really much characters. You talk to people occasionally, they'll say some stuff and move on. There aren't like characters. There's no character arcs. There's nothing like that. The only thing that it truly excels at that I would say is the best.
Godwins.
It is the best on this whole list. It's the best at level design.
If you actually do the quest, there are character arcs if you do the quest. quest.
I know. I understand.
I just wanted to say, isn't there like a whole, there's like a bunch of things too that add to the story. It's not like completely non-existent.
Yeah, there's
I said I know there's a story. I said I know
there's a whole plot between Nicola and Elden Ring.
I did say I know there's a story, but it is essentially non-existent. You can play through the whole game and never pick up on it. It's so unimportant. To truly understand what's going on, you have to read fucking item descriptions throughout the game. Otherwise, you have no idea. Like, you could play through all of Bloodborne, get all the way to the end, and fight the dude in the moon, and have no fucking idea what happened. Because you just get little tidbits here and there from certain dialogues and stuff like that. This is lore. And the character arcs that you're talking about, where you talk to the side characters and they start telling you things, you don't get to see their character arc. They tell you about it at different points within the game. You don't see them go through any of the things that they're actually going through.
No, you do. Like,
No, you
even
don't.
all the way
I
back.
was gonna
Like,
say Dark Souls 3 Onion Knight. Actually, you get to see him do a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
No,
Especially
you
all the way
don't.
back
especially
to
during,
the
like,
You
the Time King
run
boss
into
Knights
him
of
at
Katarina.
You run into him at different points, and you could see him fighting a guy, and you help him fight a guy, and then he talks to you for a bit, and then he moves on. You don't see him for a couple of hours, then you'll run into him somewhere else. You'll talk to him for a bit, and then you move on. That's not a story. That's not a fully fleshed out character.
You're not the main character in his story. He's the main character of his story, but you are still an ancillary and learn more about his story and his character development as you go.
Yes, but learning about his story is not you being able to experience his story.
You step in and help most of these characters in their major fights and in their major
Yes, like you go, like
glory.
a guy's locked in a prison cell, so you unlock him out of the prison cell, and that kicks off his story, and then you don't see him for a couple of hours, and then he talks to you about some stuff that he was going through off screen, and then you continue. These are not stories. This is stuff.
This is character development for the other characters.
It's
like
character
even with
development.
Ronnie, you help her get her item. Like in say Elden Ring, you help Ronnie get her items that she needs to complete her character development, which is taking out the 2 fingers. She has this entire arc. She can become basically one of the 3 canon endings.
So, do you think that going through a side quest, a fetch quest, and giving it to some chick so that chick can tell you how her opinions of something have changed or how she's altering is the same thing as actually watching a character go through a story and evolve, as opposed to just hearing them talk about it because you gave them an item? This is not a story.
This is their character development, which you said wasn't there.
No.
Now, hear me out.
No,
I just want to say, let's take books, for example. In books, you read what is happening, but you don't see what's happening.
No,
there's some books where they just tell you what's going on. That's like the whole point of like a book, is that they tell you the story.
This isn't a book.
So like, I feel like in a game where a character is just telling you what's happening, it's like similar.
No, it's not.
No, it's
but
it's not.
I would make an argument towards visual novels you see in video games.
The whole point of the Dark Souls series is that you're just one of the guys. You're not the main character. You're just one of the guys who is sent to do the thing. You're just so happen to be the one to do it.
No, you are the main character. You're such a poorly written main character that you say that you're not a main character, but you are the main character of the game.
You know, you're a droplet.
No, let's take Dark Souls 3 for example. You're not the Ashen one. You're one of the Ashen ones.
No, I get that. But in the game, what you would consider a main character, you are the main character of the game. The game focusing on you so little that you are arguing that it's not the main character is kind of a part of the problem. Because it's a game that puts so little effort in actually having their main character be a character that you're actually arguing with me that the main character is not the main character. That's a problem.
It's not the effort, it's that it's meant to be framed that way.
I understand that. You can make a movie where you have a character be at the front line of what's going on for 90% of it and not give him anything that makes him a main character and say, well, he's not the main. No, he would still be the main character. Just because you didn't focus on him or that you're deciding to frame it and not give him anything that, like, good does not suddenly mean he's not the main character. He is the focus on the story. We see the entire story through his eyes. That makes him the main character. The problem is we don't know anything about this guy. So it doesn't matter that we see everything through his eyes because he's not actually a character. These games do not do story. They do lore. They tell you what happens off screen. They explain to you what arcs they're going through. You don't experience those arcs. This is a poorly written story.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It feels like it should have been a book. You're not supposed to be following one person. You're supposed to be exploring a world, and yeah.
But I mean,
it's not good. No, it's not good as a game.
Book, basically.
Even in a book, you get a perspective. You get the perspective of the characters as they're going through things. I'm sure there must be a book somewhere that is written in a similar way to Dark Souls, where literally every single thing that happens is told to you after the fact. That like there's like we don't actually get a first-hand first-hand account of what happened and get to see it happen in the book. I guess that exists, but I wouldn't want to read that fucking book.
Citadel said some over in chat. He says, the lore of the world does not apply to the player character. The story is what the player character is experiencing in his opinion.
Like from a point of view.
Yeah, so the whole story is just what you're playing. The lore in the game is just ancillary background stuff to enrich the world itself.
The way I see it is lore should be there to enhance a story, but it's not a replacement for a story. And it is true that that these Souls games do replace the story with lore. A good example, Father Gassione. Father Gassione, the only thing you get from him is you meet him, he looks at you, he looks all messed up, he fights you, you kill him. That's it. He says something, I think, that's important for the guys.
You chose the one character with the most actual story around him to say he has nothing about him.
I know. No.
He's got a wife. He's got a
you have to listen to what I'm saying.
That's what he
That's
means.
the point
That's
I'm
the character
making.
with the most.
That's the point I'm making.
That's the character with the most, but it still feels like he doesn't have much.
You find his music box, you have to talk to a little girl through a window, you have to find his clothing, and then that tells you a little more of the story. You're reading about it from items and little things like this. He has some of the most story, and the only thing you get to experience is he attacks you, you kill him, and you don't know anything about it. You can go through the whole game and never even find out anything about him. He has one of the most interesting stories, and you don't get to experience it. It is all told to you from other people and after the fact. That's not a story, especially when you're talking about a visual and interactive medium. Like, for instance, if this happened in a movie, we would say that this is bad exposition. If we were watching a movie and a character just told you a bunch of shit that happened off screen or something that happened beforehand, we would be like, this is very lazy exposition. You should have found a way to give us this information in the course of the movie. That is what we would say, but for some reason, people like to make exceptions.
I think
for
it's
Dark
because
Souls.
the lore is so fucking like
it is
sometimes
really
it's so
It's
sporadic.
necessity, basically.
It's like the lore tells a really, really good story.
Yeah.
But the thing
But
is
it's hard
because
to
it
find.
is so
But lore and story
like
is not
spread
the same
out.
thing.
Yeah.
But the way that Dark Souls does it, it tells a good story because you have to go around and read it all, and because you have to go find every ancillary fucking item on planet Earth, the lands between or whatever. It makes it so it's a pain in the ass.
Here's the thing.
So
Let's give you an example. Harry Potter is a story. That's like 8 books or however many books it is. That's a story. All the shit that happened with like the building of House Slytherin, and the guy who founded House Slytherin had an issue with the guy who founded Gryffindor, and they saw that he was ousted from the school. That's lore because we don't see it happen on screen. It's not in the book. We don't experience it in the first place. It is background information that gives us context for the current story that's going on. But that's not story. That's lore. That's what Dark Souls is. It's 90% lore and like probably less than 10% story, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I understand that, but the lore does paint a good, very nice story, or well, not story, but like a very nice.
If you're not
it's the story of the world. It's
no,
not
it's
the story
it's
of
the
your
story of the
character.
world, the story that's already happened before you were there.
It's like
I understand that. I understand that doesn't matter in a gameplay context.
It's
it
like a
happened before you were there.
documentary story. You know, it's not something It's like with the Gascon thing again. Like your character is being told the story. You're not experiencing the story.
Then it's not a story.
If you find everything, your character gets told the story of Father Gascon.
Yes, but
if you don't,
but that's not the story.
It's just
that's
lore
not the
bits.
story of the game. That's not the
I know.
game's story.
To be fair towards Dark Souls, usually the games, from what my knowledge is that you are a character that's at the end of a story, basically.
Yeah.
So all I heard is George R.R. Martin sucks at writing because he wrote Elden Ring.
Elden Ring does not have that kind of a story, anyways.
To be fair, he wrote the lore of Elden Ring. He wrote the background information and created the world.
Oh yeah, no, I was just he wrote the not-existing story, the lore. Got it.
Yeah.
Sucks at writing. Fuck that guy.
Okay, so let's get to the point.
Okay,
Let's actually place this as far as like mechanically goes. Like I said, I think the action's poor. I think the story is essentially non-existent. Lore is not a replacement for story. I think the characters are not particularly great. You don't really get to experience them firsthand. They just tell you about shit after the fact. Level design is an absolute S. It's one of the best in all of gaming. But I believe the soundtrack.
That soundtrack
is relatively
is
good.
pretty fucking good.
Fun factor's pretty good.
Ash Lake is fucking awesome, dude.
Overall, I would struggle to put this above Shadow of War or Enslaved Odyssey to the
I
West.
can see it being ahead of Prototype.
I can
by
see it
your criteria.
I'm okay
because,
with
B
it
minus.
being ahead or below Prototype. I think it could. I think it could
say
be ahead
B
of
minus.
Prototype.
I'm a bit biased on it because, well, fuck, I've been playing the damn game since it came out. I've platinumed Elden Ring 16 fucking times. So
Jesus.
that's why mine, not on my own. Like I've platinumed it on PS4 and PS5, and I've helped everyone else platinum it. Awesome. My entire channel was basically just helping people platinum the game until the DLC came out. So I'm a bit biased. That's why I was going to give it at least a B, but I can see it just being a high C above Prototype. I'll be.
I'd say give it either C+ or B-.
I think on its own it's wonderful, but when you compare it to other games, it does drag down quite a bit.
And under your criteria, I definitely see it being a C+.
I'd say B-.
Some people are saying
B-.
Some people are saying
Yeah, Citadel says D.
D is crazy.
I'm pretty sure
Okay.
Chaos.
No,
I feel like D is a little too harsh.
He said as an action game, probably. Which
Chaos was the
maybe,
harshest.
if we're just looking at gameplay.
Guys, Chaos was the harshest the entire time while we were in chat, and he's even saying B-.
I'll put it at C+ for now. I'm seeing a couple of C's, a couple of B's. I guess I could put it to a vote, because I am seeing a little bit of both. I'm put at high C for now, above Prototype. If there's enough demand to put it up to B, I'll move.
Legacy says the
Maybe I'll
music
put you at
makes it a
$50
B.
for the game.